Level 1. The Driveway Apprentice. You're 15 and the car isn't even yours, not officially. It's your uncle's old Volkswagen Golf parked behind the workshop he half runs as a hobby. Your uncle tells you that if you can get the Golf running smoother, you can borrow it once you're old enough to drive. That's all the invitation you need. You spend your Saturdays beside the Golf with a borrowed socket set. A phone is propped against a paint can beside you while you work. You replay the same 5-minute tutorial over and over because you can't remember which way the spark plug gap tool turns. The first real job is replacing a set of spark plugs and an air filter. The job should take 40 minutes. Instead, it takes most of an afternoon. You cross-thread one spark plug while installing it. You carefully back the spark plug out with your heart and your throat. You're terrified you've ruined the cylinder head. You haven't. You learn what a thread feels like when it's catching properly versus fighting you. Small thing, permanent lesson. Your uncle doesn't hover while you work. He checks your work afterward. He runs a finger along a hose clamp. He tells you it's loose without telling you why. He waits to see if you figure it out yourself. Eventually, you do. The engine idles rough for 2 days. A vacuum leak is causing the problem. You trace the leak by ear. You spray soapy water along the intake while listening carefully. You find the hiss of bubbles where the leak is hiding. The idle smooths out after the repair. It's not a power upgrade. It's not anything anyone would notice from outside the car. But you notice. You drove a problem to its root and fixed it with your own hands. That feeling follows you home. It keeps you up half the night. You lie awake thinking about what else might be wrong with that engine that you haven't found yet. Level 2, the forum lurker turned builder. You're 17 now, and you finally got your own project. It's a high-mileage Volkswagen Polo with a tired 1.4 engine. You bought it for less than the price of a decent bicycle. The previous owner had given up on the clutch shutter. You decide to fix the clutch first. You don't do it because it's exciting. You do it because you've read enough forum threads to know that a car has to run right before it's worth modifying. You spend 3 evenings underneath the Polo with your friend Marcus from school. Both of you are guessing half the steps as you work. Your first attempt at reinstalling the gearbox fails. The gearbox ends up wedged at an angle neither of you anticipated. On the second attempt, you finally get the gearbox back in place. Once the clutch is sorted, the modifications start in earnest. You install a cone filter. You fit an exhaust system bought used from someone 2 towns over. You install lowering springs with a borrowed compressor. You perform the suspension work with far too much caution. None of the modifications make meaningful power. All of them teach you something the workshop manual never explains clearly. You learn how parts actually behave once they're under the car instead of in a diagram. You start posting under the username Theo_Polo in an online forum dedicated to small hatchbacks. Most of your posts are questions. Occasionally, you answer questions you happen to know. People correct you. Sometimes they correct you bluntly. Someone tells you your spring rates are mismatched to your dampers. They warn you the car will ride like a shopping trolley on a cobbled street. You don't believe them. Then you drive the car. You discover they were right. You learn to trust strangers who clearly know more than you. You learn to stop being precious about advice that stings a little going down. Level 3, the track day convert. You're 19, and someone from the forum invites you to a budget track day at a short regional circuit. The invitation comes from a guy who goes by Dries. You've only ever spoken to Dries through usernames online. You almost don't go. You've never driven anywhere near a limit before. The idea of doing it in front of strangers terrifies you more than it excites you. You go anyway. The first session humbles you completely. You're slow and tentative around the circuit. You brake far too early into every corner. Your body doesn't yet trust the car's grip. An instructor named Peter rides with you for 2 laps. Peter says almost nothing during the session. Back in the pit lane, Peter finally gives his feedback. He tells you that you're not using the whole track. He tells you that you're not looking far enough ahead. He tells you that you're scared of your own brakes. He's right on all 3 points. You return to the track determined to follow his advice. You begin using more of the track. You begin looking farther ahead through the corners. You begin trusting the brakes more confidently. By the final session of the day, you're a full 4 seconds faster around the same lap. You're driving the same car. Not a single part has been changed. The gap between the first lap and the last lap rewires how you think about tuning. You go home with a different perspective. Instead of buying another bolt-on part, you book a second track day. You start prioritizing tires with real grip. Cosmetic modifications become less important. Under hard, repeated braking, you boil the original brake fluid. You feel the brake pedal go soft and frightening on the back straight. You upgrade the brake fluid. You begin to understand something fundamental. The driver and the car are not two separate projects. They're the same project. They improve together or not improve at all. Level 4. The engine builder. You're 22 and the Polo has been sold. The money helps fund something with real potential. You buy a Mark V Volkswagen Golf GTI. The GTI is turbocharged from the factory. It is a platform with a tuning community deep enough to support a real education. This time you build with intention instead of accumulation. Every part you fit has a stated reason. You upgrade the intercooler. You've logged intake air temperatures climbing past acceptable limits on long pulls. You upgrade the fuel pump. You've properly calculated that your power target will exceed what the factory unit can reliably supply. You teach yourself to read engine management software. You sit beside an older tuner named Goran at a local meet. Goran has been doing this since before you were born. He lends you a laptop and a cable without asking for anything back. Goran doesn't do the work for you. He sits beside you while you make a change in the software. You log a pull after making the adjustment. You study the resulting graph. You squint at the data trying to understand why the air-fuel ratio leaned out exactly where it did. The first time you correctly diagnose a fueling issue from a data log, Goran doesn't have to point it out. Something shifts. You're no longer just following instructions assembled by someone else. You're starting to think in the language the engine actually speaks. The car goes on to a dyno at a shop you trust. It isn't a parking lot estimate. It's an actual rolling road with a printed graph. The result is 281 horsepower at the wheels. The number is conservative and reliable. It's exactly where you aimed. You drive the 40 minutes home afterward. You grip the wheel with both hands the entire way. You're half convinced something is about to go wrong. Nothing does. Nothing has ever felt this deliberate before. Level 5. The name people ask for. You're 25, and somewhere in the last 3 years your name started circulating before you noticed it happening. You're not famous, you're not even close, but you're known in the small specific world of people who modify cars properly in your region. People tag you in photos of builds you helped diagnose. A stranger recognizes your old Golf in a parking lot. The stranger asks if you were the Theo who sorted out the misfire everyone else gave up on. That reputation gets tested one day when Marcus brings you his Audi. Marcus is still your old friend from school. 2 other tuners have already worked on the Audi without success. The car still cuts out under load. It doesn't matter what parts they replace. You spend a Sunday with a laptop and a borrowed boost gauge. You refuse to trust any of the previous diagnoses. You start again from the very first principle. You focus on what the data actually shows. You ignore what the data should show. You inspect the car methodically. You find a hairline crack in a vacuum line. The crack is tucked behind the intake manifold. It's invisible unless you're specifically looking for it. 3 confident tuners walked right past the fault. They were looking for something more dramatic. You identify the real problem. That afternoon teaches you something important. Diagnosing and building are genuinely different skills wearing the same overalls. Building rewards knowing how things should go together. Diagnosing rewards having seen enough things go wrong. Your instincts begin flagging problems before your conscious mind knows why. You realize you've started accumulating that second skill. You never deliberately set out to do it. Level 6. Doing it for money. You're 28, and what used to be a hobby has become something people actually pay you for. Customers now pay you consistently. It's no longer just an occasional favor. You rent a single bay inside Goran's larger workshop. You share dyno time with 2 other small operators. Each operator uses the facility on different days. A waiting list forms before you've done anything to advertise. Word spreads through the same community that once taught you everything for free. The standards shift the moment money changes hands. When it was your own car, a slightly imperfect tune was an acceptable compromise. You could always revisit it later. On someone else's car, that compromise becomes unacceptable. Someone else's savings are now on the line. You start saying no to jobs that aren't right. Turning down the money sometimes stings. You've already seen what a careless tune can do to an engine. You've seen engines that weren't built to support that level of stress. You refuse to be the reason it happens to someone else's car. You develop a specialty almost by accident. The specialty is small displacement turbocharged engines. Most local tuners consider those engines not worth learning. The documentation is thin, the parts support is patchy. Nobody else wants to invest the time. You do. Within a year, 3 different shops begin referring those specific cars to you. You're the only person in the area who actually understands them properly. You solve problems through knowledge rather than guessing. Level 7, the shop with a reputation. You're 33, and what started as a single rented bay is now a proper independent workshop. The workshop has your name on the sign, Theo Tuning. The shop has 2 lifts. The shop has its own dyno cell. You now have 1 full-time employee. His name is Anton. You trained Anton from nothing. You trained him the same way Goran once showed you the basics. Anton is good now. Anton is genuinely good. Anton is better at certain diagnostics than you were at his age. This is because you've structured what you teach him instead of leaving him to stumble. Customers now drive considerable distances to reach your shop. That still feels strange to acknowledge. A car you build wins its class at a regional time attack event. Your shop's name is printed small on the door of the car. The business now turns away builds that aren't appropriate. These conversations are never comfortable. But they protect something more important than a single invoice. They protect the difference between whatever is paid for and what is actually correct. The business side becomes harder than the technical side. Insurance renewals become a constant challenge. A dyno needs recalibrating at the worst possible moment. Anton needs a week off during your busiest season. You solve these problems the same way you solve a misfire. You gather the actual information. You resist guessing. You fix the real problem instead of the symptom. Level 8. The record. You're 38, and the car on your lift is going to break a regional record. Not might break, it will break it. You've run the numbers enough times to know this. The only exception is a mechanical failure nobody could predict. The car is a heavily reworked Nissan Silvia. It belongs to a young driver named Femke. The car is stripped to its essential weight. The engine was assembled by you over 4 patient months. You built it to know every internal tolerance personally. You refused to trust supplier spec sheets alone. Record day arrives at a circuit 2 hours from your shop. The first attempt does not break anything. The first attempt reveals a fuel delivery inconsistency under high load. This problem did not appear in testing sessions. The problem only appears under full race conditions. You fix the issue in the paddock that evening. You work by headlamp as daylight disappears. The venue lights cut out at dusk. The second attempt happens the next morning. Femke is behind the wheel. The run is clean from formation lap to the flag. The record is broken. The margin is large enough that timekeepers double-check the figures. You do not post about it immediately. You sit in the paddock after the run. The engine ticks as it cools. You think of a borrowed socket set in your uncle's workshop. You think of a phone propped against a paint can. The distance between then and now feels hard to measure, but the path makes complete sense in hindsight. Every car taught you something the previous one did not. Level 9. What gets passed on? You're 43 now. Your shop has trained 5 people who open their own operations. 2 of them are in cities you've never visited. Anton is one of them. They carry habits you didn't realize you taught them. They mention those habits back to you later. A build from your shop sits in a private collection. It is on long-term loan. It sits alongside cars you admired as a teenager. That still feels faintly absurd. You still do the work yourself, but not all of it. The business demands too much of your time. You stay close to the most important builds. These are the builds where a mistake would cost something real. You've learned something important. If you stop turning wrenches entirely, your knowledge drifts. It becomes theoretical. It becomes out of date. In this trade, theoretical knowledge is a liability. You refuse to carry that liability, no matter how senior you become. Somewhere right now, a 15-year-old is in a garage with a borrowed socket set. They are cross-threading a spark plug. They are panicking quietly. They think they've ruined something. They haven't. They will fix it. Eventually. The same slow way you did. They don't know yet that this lesson matters. The feel of a thread catching properly will matter more than almost anything else. It will matter 20 years from now, more than most things they will be taught along the way.